Wait, isn't everybody at war over atheism?
Atheism? No. We've learned to get rid of all the isms in our time. Yes, long ago we realized isms are great for those who are rational, but in the hands of irrational people, isms always lead to violence.
Take 240. Here we go. This is episode 36 of Tim's 2 Cents. I'm here with you guys again. I'm Tim Baker. If you've come to this, you've probably come to me through the You, Me, and BTC podcast. We do a live show there every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. So check us out there. We focus mostly on cryptocurrency stuff. We'll get into other stuff too. But it was birthed out of wanting to talk about Bitcoin, so that's where a lot of it is. This podcast came out of me just wanting to talk about other stuff and kind of see where things go. Most of the time, I don't really know exactly where the episodes are going to go. I kind of just start talking about stuff, and it, more than anything, it's a way for me to kind of work out an idea in my head. So hopefully it comes across as somewhat coherent. Thank you guys for listening. Again, you can follow me and yell at me and tell me how great I am on Twitter at BakersDozen93. You can also find all of our donation addresses on the youmeandbtc.com website. And also, if you send stuff there, make sure that Daniel knows it's for me, not for him or Zach. It's specifically for me. I would appreciate that. It would make me feel a lot better about myself if I know that I'm being paid for just spouting off hot air. I don't know. Normally I do a little bit longer of an intro. I'm trying to get away from that. I feel like I repeat myself a little bit too much. This is, I don't even know if I said what this was. This is episode 36. So I've been doing even just this podcast for a while. I thought we'd been doing You, Me, and BTC for a long time. I think we're up around 260 on that one. But even this, it's weird because I didn't really think about doing it for this long whenever we started doing these podcasts. I didn't think that I'd be able to talk for this long, but somehow I figured out a way to do that, and that is to pad your intros. If you want to keep on putting out a new podcast, make sure you always pad your intro with about 17 minutes at the beginning of just going over what you've said over and over and over again. But I'll try to stay away from that. This week, not a ton of stuff has happened. There's been more shootings, although there's always shootings. Although we treat the ones that we get brought up and told about as very much more important than the ones that we don't hear about, or the ones that we just hear about in passing. So we're at a point. We live in a society, but we're at a point in, I don't know if it's just America, maybe, I don't know exactly what it is. It's wherever Twitter or social media, Instagram, any place where those play a big part in the kind of average person's everyday life. We have this idea of, well, we won't be just told what to think and how to think about it because we get our media from everybody, but we still kind of fall into the whole, oh, well, I should be angry about this because a lot of people retweeted it. That's the new thing, is instead of it being we all just get our news from, I don't know, whatever, CBS or Fox or CNN, it's whoever gets the most retweets, which I see these tweets that, and this doesn't necessarily just have to do with a tragedy that happens and then somebody tweets about it. This is just in general. You see the tweets, and it's like 22,000 retweets, 200,000 retweets. And I saw this the other day done by somebody, like, it's the exact same wording, and it didn't get this. So it really does have to do with the image that's put forward, the image you've put forward, and then also just the amount of people that think that you're cool like that. Everything really is just boils down to a popularity contest. We are still just stupid animals, and we will just go with whoever looks the coolest to us. And that really, it doesn't seem right. It bothers a lot of people. A lot of people want to push that we're not like that, and only the people with good content go to the top, and that's why they succeed. And that's not really, like, I understand that you can't go through your life just being angry that you're not getting what other people seem to be getting and telling yourself, well, it's just happening because they're popular. It's just happening because they got this big break or something like that. But that really is what it is a lot of times. There isn't much of a reason most of the time for why somebody gets something over another person. And I'm not saying compared to me. I'm saying, like, there's plenty of people that put in way more work and they get successful and they get a lot more people that talk about them. They get a lot of attention compared to me. So I can't really complain as far as like, oh, well, why don't I have more followers? This doesn't make sense to me. My point in saying that it really does often have to do with whoever gets a break or whoever's popular or whoever's more attractive is that there's plenty of people that also work really, really hard on things, work way harder on things than I do, and they don't get that kind of recognition. So it's not a problem. It's a good attitude to have, that as long as you do good work and you put out good content or you're a good person, whatever it is, and we're not just talking about podcasts or just in life, it's not a good attitude to have that, well, you didn't get something because the whole world's against you. Because it's not. The world isn't against you. The world just doesn't care. The world can't really care about an individual. It's not really. We're beyond the point of being able to care for every single person in our life, or every single person that we read about or see or interact with on Twitter. I'm not even going to try to figure out what it's called, but there's an idea that the human brain can't really properly empathize with more than, I think it's something around like 100 people, maybe slightly over that, to where you can like actually look at them as a real human being, part of like everybody beyond that. It's not that we don't look at them as humans, we look at them as animals, but you can't really be concerned with them because your mind just can't really deal with it. So you can't expect the world to go, no, I'm a person. Look at me. I deserve to have retweets and likes and be paid for everything that I do. It doesn't work like that. The labor theory of value is bullshit. It doesn't, that just because you put work into something does not mean that somebody else wants to purchase it or reward you for that. Now, how do you go forward with that? You kind of just have to lie to yourself and tell yourself that, no, it really does have to do completely with merit. Everything is a meritocracy. It's completely based off of who does the best and who is the top content, which we all know is bullshit. Like, if you look at music, like, it's god awful, most of this stuff. Like, not to say, and I'm trying to stay away from this because especially years ago, especially when I was in high school, I was definitely one of those music snob people. I've talked on this podcast before how much of a hipster I've been. But just the kind of stuff that is popular is almost never good. It's not and I get that art is subjective, but it's not an intricate expression of something. It is always a very easy cut and dry because you have to appeal to more people. And that's not to say that you have to dumb things down, but you have to cut off some of the defined edges so that you can bring in the people that maybe, I'll use music as an example. Like, the big thing now is not rap, it's not rock, it's all of it's pop. And regardless of how much these guys talk about how hardcore they are, how dirty Drake's diss track was, it's all still just pop bullshit because that's the most marketable thing. Pop music is, it has a nice little beat, it's pretty simple, it has lyrics that don't really mean much beyond what's being said, and it's nice just to play in the background in the car. You can get hyped on it. It's cool if you're drunk and you're fucked up and you go, woo, yeah, let's get fucked up like this guy in the track. So it's not that it's I don't want to take this like superior, it's an intelligence thing, but it's a marketable thing. It's a marketability thing. So a lot of ideas, a lot of things that might be like an expression that might even be commendable kind of gets thrown away because, well, it needs to make money. It is a business. I wish I could say that about this podcast. So far, I have no reason to make this marketable. Nobody's coming to me to be like, hey, you really need to stop with the whole 5-minute intros about stuff and telling people that it's wrong to vote, because nobody's going, here's $1,000. Here you go. Do this episode for me. But I don't know. That flows into other things too, where marketability takes... and I don't know if this is a recent thing. I feel like it is, just because of the internet and how just getting eyes on things and getting ears to listen to something is so much more important now than like actually having an experience like music compared to live show was so much bigger, I believe, decades ago than it is now, versus now the big thing where you're going to make money is like an affiliate program with somebody, or a sponsorship from a clothing line, or just being able to sell however many millions of downloads on iTunes or plays on Spotify. But a lot of stuff is kind of, it gets boiled down for the sake of marketability. Recently, I think just yesterday, which I'm pissed now because Veterans Day has caused my mail not to be delivered today, because apparently if there's a holiday on a Sunday, the USPS has to also take a holiday the next day for some reason. That might also not be true. That my mailman might just told me to fuck off the day and not giving me anything, but who knows. But Veterans Day was just yesterday, so you see a lot of people on Twitter just go, thank you for your service. It's amazing. And the cynical part of me is, yeah, this is obviously just your ploy to act like a good person in front of people so you get people to like. Because there's people who will hate on cops, there's people who will hate on that kind of stuff. But veterans normally still keep the same kind of standing in society as like firefighters. They don't kill us. They kill other people, not firefighters. Maybe firefighters do. Who knows? A lot of firefighters are probably murderers. I don't know. I've met some firefighters. I went through an EMT course with a bunch of them, and they weren't mean, but a couple of them seemed like they'd be at least capable of murdering somebody if something happened. But veterans, most everybody agrees that you should at least say thank you for your service. And we really are. It's so terrible that millions of people died 90 years ago. It's really awful what happened back then. But we've learned from our mistakes now. The horrors that happened back then are just terrible. It's awful, and we really just need to remember that. Besides thanking your veterans, you always need to remember what they did for you, because as long as you're remembering that, you're not going to think about what's currently happening. And that's where a lot of this marketability happens. There's a lot of nostalgia. I mean, as you can see, every single movie that comes out now is some kind of a reboot. It's always, let's start up the A-Team again. Let's make a reboot of Frasier. Let's make all this new shit. Do you remember this from back then? Isn't this great? But nostalgia and that stuff does flow over into like sadness and guilt, where nostalgic guilt is a lot easier for us, and it's a lot more palatable than current guilt. Because current guilt, even though you and I can't really do that much by ourselves, I mean, really the only solution I see to like the current military industrial complex and what they do around the world is really just for everybody in America to stop paying taxes. Not that money directly even pays for the wars, or I mean, we're so in debt that the tax revenue doesn't really put any kind of a dent in that. But it would at least cause the government to go, oh, fuck, something's bad at home. We're kind of messing up. So, like, the only real thing that we could do of any substance would be just for all 300 million, whatever the recent census is, for us all to go, nope, we're not sending anything in for taxes this year. We're kind of we as the citizens of the United States are going on strike. We will no longer be allowing ourselves we're not letting our paychecks be plundered this year. We're keeping everything. You guys can come do something about it if you want. Of course, we won't do that because we like our TVs, we like our Hulu, we like our video games, we like our books, we like our new Drake song, we like going to the movies on Thursdays because it's half price off. We like getting our food cheaply. But I think if there's going to be any kind of a lesson from seeing how quick we are to have this nostalgic kind of guilt over things. It's not guilt because people don't go, oh, I'm so sorry for what my ancestors did to you during World War II or something like that. It's this kind of nostalgic horror of something. It's this, like, oh, that was so terrible. And they don't say, I'm glad we're not doing this anymore. Now, I mean, obviously some people will because they can say, well, we don't have a world war going on right now. Isn't that great? But they go, oh, this was terrible. It was awful. It should never happen again. And so, okay, I get that the loss of many lives is in a utilitarian form or a utilitarian sense worse than the loss of a couple lives, but it's not, this stuff hasn't stopped. Everybody's freaking out about how Trump called off, what is it? It's some dumb little, remember, I'm going to stand here and put my head down. And I hate moments of silence. Moments of silence always piss me off. They're just they're annoying, they're pompous, and they're useless. It doesn't mean anything to just sit. The person who's dead does not give one fuck that you sat and just shut up for 5 seconds. It really doesn't matter. But everybody's freaking out about how Trump is called off some meeting or something. He didn't go in the rain and sit there. And so then all the other leaders of the world that have murdered thousands, millions of people, and their policies have murdered millions more. They all stood in the rain and they all stood in the rain and paid their respects to those dead. But it's like, but what about the dead people from a day ago? What about the dead people from a year ago? Is it helping us to have these moments of silence? Because it really doesn't seem like we're doing that. It seems like we're mostly just going, hey, let's not have another world war because that really cost a lot of money. We don't have that kind of money anymore. We're already all in debt. We can't be paying for these world wars. Let's just kind of push all of our military conflicts into the Middle East and Africa and just fuck up those areas. So, I mean, I just I can't appreciate it, and it annoys me whenever we think we're making progress as people, whenever we go, see, we're remembering that this happened a long time ago. Well, it's happening now. Shut up, it's not happening now. It's not the exact same instance, so your point is invalid now. So, I mean, if you're going to have a moment of silence for something that happened 100 years ago, you'd think at least then you'd consider the next time you decide putting a trade restriction on an Iraq, or sending drones, or funding drones, or sending troops into Afghanistan, Iraq, and running special missions in Africa and just murdering civilians in Libya. But it doesn't do that, because having a politician post that he's having a day of remembrance for the thousands of people that he murdered a couple days ago isn't palatable. It's not marketable. People will not like and retweet that because it makes us feel bad. It makes us feel responsible, and to a certain extent we are. But it's not that bad things that have happened in the past are good and are marketable because we can go, oh, I feel really bad about that, but there's no possible way that I could help with that because, hey, it happened 100 years ago. I'm not even born yet. I have no capability of doing anything with that. Bad things that happen today, we can at least go, hey, if I really, really, really did care, I'd leave my country, I'd leave my life, I'd go and do something. And that is not what we want to deal with. That is not what we want to see when we're sitting on our couch, drunk, high, barred out on Xanax, or just sitting and watching Netflix all day. You don't want to take your phone out, look at Twitter, and go, oh, shit, there's bad stuff happening right now. And, ooh, I can like it. I can like it. But that's not really doing that much. And I think most of us realize that, and that's why we kind of almost... if I'm being honest, the action of the remembrance doesn't bother me as much as how much we do celebrate it and how much we look at somebody or ourselves for being good and righteous for remembering something. It's fine. Yeah, remember that a bunch of people died. Great. But that's no reason to pat yourself on the back. It's no reason to pat yourself on the back just because you can remember something bad happened before, because there's always something new. There's always a new horror happening, especially if you're not working from like a utilitarian point of view where it's every single day is the worst day ever for somebody's life. And that's something you kind of have to come to grips with. Every single day is just hell for at least one person, normally millions of people. And the idea of that happening over and over and over again is not marketable and is not tweet friendly. So, I mean, I get why we do it. I get why everybody likes the tweet where it says, oh, we need to remember our fallen heroes. I get why everybody retweets it. But it's kind of useless. If you can do something in your life, I don't know what my advice for helping with that would be. I guess it would just be like try to talk to people about that. If you have a friend or a family member who insists on saying that they're remembering something, go, hey, well, there's this thing that's happening now, and there's some correlation to it, and it's kind of similar. Do you want to maybe do something? And you're not really going to make a huge change in their life, but at least you can enjoy knowing them. It kind of flows into the other thing I wanted to talk about. This past weekend, I spent pretty much all of Saturday just thinking about stuff. I was put in a situation where there wasn't too much else I could do besides that. And I was stuck with somebody else, somebody who I would look at as being significantly more successful than I am as far as what their chosen path is in life. Someone who seems to have a lot more stuff figured out than I do. And we both kind of at the same moment had this little moment where we were like, I need to do something so that I stop thinking about myself. I need to stop considering my life. I think we were watching like a TV show, and it's supposed to be the show's called Trailer Park Boys. It's supposed to be a comedy, but it was getting a little bit heavy only because of the situation I and this other person were in, and the characters on the screen were talking about needing to grow up and figure out their lives because they're getting too old and things aren't going to keep on. They're not getting any younger, and me and this other person had the exact same reactions to it, and neither one of us were saying that at first. It kind of happened, and like I said, we were both just like, I need something that where I'm not thinking about myself, and then we kind of just laughed because we realized, oh, you were thinking about that too. You were having that same kind of panicked feeling of dread in your life, and I think that's what most of us will always have. And if you're having that kind of sensation now, if you're having that feeling of, I don't know where my life is going. It feels like it's slipping away from me. I feel like I'm in the worst situation ever. You very well may be. I want to put a caveat at the beginning of this where, again, this isn't an excuse to just go, fuck it, I'm just going to sit on my couch and watch Netflix because I'm going to worry about things anyway. But the same person, the person that you go to the gym, you go to the store, you look at that person, you go, oh, wow, they have everything figured out. They're so hot. They have so much money. They have this nice car. They're still having the same feelings of dread. They're still having the little voices in their head that say, you fucked that up. Now everything's gone. Your life's over. You're fucked. They're still having that sensation of just like dread. Like I like that word for this impending kind of, like what happens next? What happens tomorrow? And the only real advice you can get out of all of this, and the only advice I could take out of it, was just that you really, I mean, this is a hack at this point, but you really do just have to kind of take every single, not even just every single day, but every situation you have, figure out what you want to accomplish in it, whether it's a personal situation with somebody else, whether it's you're by yourself, whether it's a job thing. Figure out what you want to accomplish in that moment, in that situation, in that minute, and always kind of just be working towards that. Because if you can keep yourself distracted with goals like that, it really does help with the kind of dread of, well, what happens next? Like if you're always working towards something, and you can even use that feeling of dread to help incentivize yourself and motivate yourself to work towards something. Go, well, if I don't start writing my new book now, what happens in a year whenever something bad happens? And I can't do it then. If I don't start if I don't go back to school now, what happens in a year whenever I don't have the money or the free time or the support of my family? Use that kind of feeling of, oh God, I don't know what's going to happen, to go, okay, well, because I don't know what's going to happen, I need to work towards a goal. I need to work through a plan, because if I don't work through a plan, I'm just going to be having these same questions tomorrow. And you don't want to keep on having those same questions over and over and over again. It's not bad to feel that kind of, oh no, what happens next? And like I said, everybody has those. The problem is whenever you just become okay with constantly asking that, because I don't think they're going to go away. Maybe with some kind of chemical interference, you can just go, I don't care, whatever. But if you're not just like dulling any kind of a sense in your mind of the future, you're not dulling any kind of survival instincts, you will never really get rid of that dread. But if you can use that for a positive purpose, or even just to work something for you, like use your body, use your reactions to something as a way to push yourself in a direction that you want to go. It might not be the right direction. You don't have to constantly, every single action you do doesn't have to be this well thought out, amazing plan that eventually comes together in a year. It might be the wrong way, but like, action will always be inaction. And I don't mean that as far as just like, well, I mean, obviously sometimes you just can't do something. But consciously not doing something is a lot better than unconsciously just doing nothing. It's a lot better to be conscious of, well, I'm going to relax here for an hour, than unconsciously just working a job that you don't really like. You kind of just turn your mind off every single day, go in, do your 8 hours, come back out, and you go, where did my life go? Conscious living is important, and I think a lot of our world today is based around trying to give people an escape from that, giving people an escape from thinking, well, I just spent 8 hours of my life in an office that I hated. I hate everybody there. I get bullied by people. I'm kind of shit on by my boss. Whatever that is, whatever your situation is. But being conscious about what you're currently doing and where this may or may not be leading you is never a bad idea in any kind of a situation. So I'll leave with that. Same thing, going like what I was talking before, the remembrance, as long as you can remember, and see right there, I did that. As long as you can remember that your remembrance is a feeling you should probably have, but it doesn't make up for the fact that there's still awful shit that's happening every day. And it doesn't take away your, if you have a feeling that you should be doing something, don't let the remembrance and that kind of fake, oh, well, I do care. Don't let that steer you away from actually going out and doing something. If you want to do that, if you want to do something, do it, and don't let yourself get stuck in the, well, I'm going to think about doing it for a long, long time, because I've done that with plenty of things. I've done that with all kinds of stuff, where it's just like, oh, I'd really like to do that, and then you just don't, because you're like, it'd be uncomfortable, or it might be weird, or I probably wouldn't be good at it. Just go and do it, fail at it, and then you can try again. There's very few things in your life that you get one chance at. That's not really how life works, at least as far as I've been able to see. So you can always try again. And again, come back next week. I'll have another episode where I try to figure something out. Thank you guys for listening. This has been episode 36. Catch us on the Yumi and BTC live show every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern. You can get to the newest episode or the live show landing page at ymb.tc/live. Come chat with us. Tell us how much we suck. Thank you guys. Love you. Bye.